Great. I'm so glad you all are here. It's 8:03, so I guess we'll go ahead and get started. Those of you who have come before know that usually Melissa Bourbon is here with me, and we kind of play off each other and ask questions and stuff. Well, she ended up having something with her publisher tonight, so she couldn't be here, but we had already arranged for Tracy Zander Hartman to be here, who, if you read the dedication, you'll know that she's the one I dedicated this book to. Carol Pickett, who's also here, got a dedication to my Moonshine series. So different friends inspire me to dedicate my book to them.
Drink moonshine.
Yeah. Carol's my moonshine drinking buddy. So. I just rolled into my my chalkboard. I cannot move my chair, I have learned. But Tracy got a dedication to this book because Tracy's trouble. She's actually just someone very fun to get into trouble with. So the history, how I met Tracy, she lives in Pennsylvania. So you might think, well, how in the world did you, being from Texas and North Carolina, meet Tracy? But we actually met online. It's apparently meeting people online isn't just for dating. You can actually meet real friends online. And we started just kind of communicating via Facebook, and I kind of hit it off. I could tell she had a good sense of humor and stuff. And then we started doing some chats, live through the computer and stuff. And it was funny because Carol and some of my other friends were like, "Who's this Tracy? She seems really fun." And then we actually met in person, and so that was really fun. We did a trip to the mountains, and actually Carol and I are going to see Tracy tomorrow. We figured it was perfect time to go visit her because she lives in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Oh,
so
okay.
It's Christmas. So.
Nice. Yeah.
And you may notice that Tracy and I are wearing our Harley Davidson shirts tonight. Mine is actually from Texas. I don't know if you can see the back. Horny Toad Harley Davidson from Temple. The Horned Toads were the mascot for Texas Christian University, where my father-in-law used to teach. So I thought, okay, we'll get it. Okay, so Tracy too, I'm going to see if I can share this. I'm not the best at all this technology, but she is creative in her own right, and she has a YouTube channel where she drums. So I'm going to see if I can show you. I thought this song was perfect for the theme of this book. This was one that she had done.
We can't hear it.
You can't hear it?
There it is. Okay.
Love those drumsticks, Tracy.
So Ride Like the Wind.
Wow.
It seemed like a good song for this book.
Yeah. Tracy can feel the beat. I like that. She's got rhythm.
Yeah, tell them your story, Tracy, about how you got into drumming.
COVID hit, and I wanted something more to do with my day than reading.
What?
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. It cannot be 24/7. It can't. So my other love is music. And my parents would never let me have a drum set. I don't know why. I rude, right? Rude. But anyway, I got a drum pad. First, I started drumming on my legs because I didn't have the drum pad. Then, for my birthday, my folks got me a drum pad, and I'm happy as a clam. And the sticks that you saw, the light up sticks, were a gift from a dear friend. Let's just say she's on screen. Let's just say she's the writer of the book we're talking about. Everybody loves my glow sticks. So that's how I started. I just wanted something else to do.
Jay is musical too. She sings in a choir.
Yeah. Hey, you're going to love this. So we're doing the Messiah, for church. So I think the solo I'm doing is like 2 octaves above my real range. So I don't know what, I'm going to have some tequila shots before.
Loosen up those vocal cords.
whatever works, I promise. I'm looking at Carol's wine glass, envious. I'm having a colonoscopy on Saturday and I can't have wine from now
Oh,
on.
no.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Colonoscopy bad enough, but on a weekend?
I know, right? Yeah, they do it they do it on weekends too. So what better way to spend a weekend, you know?
Oh, yeah. Well, I hope it all turns out okay.
Oh, it's fine.
Important thing to have done.
It is.
Tracy has a roommate, a really cute roommate that I asked if she could show y'all before we get into the questions.
Oh. Oh.
Give me a second.
I know we have some other animal lovers on here. Gay has goats.
Oh,
So this is Daisy.
Oh, sweet.
This is Daisy Blue.
Oh. You know, Daisy is the third most popular name for a dog in the United States.
I believe it. We got her when she was 4, so we did not change her name. I just added the middle name. Yeah, just added the middle.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to meeting her when we come up there too.
She's looking forward to meeting you too,
Yeah.
Oh.
and showing you her snack cabinet.
Oh, is she going to share?
Probably not. No.
She's cute. She's so cute.
Very cute. And y'all feel free to chime in if y'all have questions. Tracy's got some she's going to ask me, but y'all feel free to chime in if y'all have any other things that you want to ask about the book or the process or any of that.
How about if I start us rolling?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
To go.
This one was a good question from Misa, actually.
Misa is a nickname for author Melissa Burton.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah. But Diane, when you first started writing, the victim needed to be on the page by like around page 50. Okay, now Jerry, I guess there seems to be a trend that the victim is dropping later. Your victim comes in around page 100, roughly. How did that change how you wrote this book?
Well, it is interesting because I have been told by my editors that I need to kill quicker. I am a slow killer. I like to play with my victims before I kill them. But actually, just to me, this is kind of how the stories always come to me. Like, to me, the story kind of starts sooner. It starts when you start seeing things happen and the relationships between the parties. I kind of like putting a little bit more of that in advance, maybe than some other authors do, just because I feel like that sort of lays, the seeds, plants the seeds of, ooh, I wonder if that person's going to end up killing them. I wonder if that person is. Doing it after, to me, is actually a little bit harder because it's harder to show those relationships because it's after the fact, the person's gone. So trying to bring, probably if somebody really murdered someone, they're going to be trying to stay away for the most part. So I think that's harder. So maybe a little bit of it is cheating just because it's a little bit easier, but that to me is just kind of how the story flows best. I kind of like to show that. And I also like to get the reader a little more invested in the victim, which maybe that's mean too, but I think it makes them care about what happens and makes them want to seek justice for that victim. So, but I have been told I need to get them sooner. And
I totally disagree
sometimes it
with
happens.
your editor.
You do? Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that.
I like the fact that you introduce us to the character and to some of the other characters. So we have kind of an overview of the relationships, and it invests you more in the story.
Good.
Yes,
I'm glad to hear
agree.
that. And I think it gives more context too for, why is this person, why should we care? Why is this person going to end up, possibly dead? What's going on? So.
Okay. Yeah, that kind of feeding from that, actually, we get to know Jerry a little bit more because we have an extended period of time with her. But was it harder to kill her off because you knew her better because we've had that extra time with her. Did that make it harder for you?
It did, because I just really liked her, and I liked, she was such the matriarch of the group,
Right.
and was really trying to, help some of the younger women that needed some guidance. She was such a good role model, and a strong woman and a capable woman, and not necessarily, what people think of as a typical biker chick. I've learned there is no such thing. People who like
Probably not.
motorcycles come from all walks of life,
Yeah.
but it did make it a little harder to kill her. I generally like to kill the jerks, but I've also been told by an editor that and actually in my next moonshine book, she said, you might as well just write and kill me now on his forehead because I made him such a jerk. When it's men, I think I tend to make them more jerky. I don't know, maybe that's very sexist to me, but that's just kind of how it plays out.
That's all right.
Yeah.
I thought it would be the one that caused all the trouble. I can't
did
remember her
too.
name now.
Erica.
I thought
Erica,
that she was gonna
Mhm.
fight the dust.
I was
I was
hoping
really
it was
hoping
gonna
it'd
be
be
her.
her.
Yeah, and it's funny because sometimes it's fun to kind of make a character who you wouldn't really mind if they ended up in jail. But she was trying to get, maybe trying to get her life together and had some issues. I didn't really ever, delve too deep into that because I kind of wanted to leave it a little bit mysterious. But but it was fun coming up with the different clues and planting, all the stuff along the parkway. It's such a beautiful area out there. It was fun, just writing about that area, but it's a beautiful place to die if you've got to die.
That's true. That's true. Well, the ladies motorcycle group, Dangerous Curves. Love that. Love that.
I stole that from reality. There are really Dangerous Curves chapters.
Are there really?
There are. Yeah. When I wrote my Busted series, which has female motorcycle cops, and I was looking to market that, I got online and I, Googled looking for women's motorcycle clubs so I could send postcards to them and make them aware of the books. And I found this one called Dangerous Curves, and there's branches in different cities. And actually a woman from the Dangerous Curves of Honolulu got in touch with me and sent me some pictures that I put in my newsletter. And they did a Toys for Tots toy drive, did a picture of a Santa hat on her motorcycle and stuff.
Right.
But I love that. I don't think there's actually a Dangerous Curves of Raleigh, so I created this chapter in Raleigh, but that same name has been used before, so I can't take credit for that. But I just thought it was so perfect. I just loved it. So we make up some things, and some things we use from real life.
It's a free pass. Well, it is a unique concept still, whether you name them for real or not. It's still a really unique concept, except of course your Busted series, which, okay, more women bikers. Because of that, what's the deal, girl? Do you have a need to get on a bike? Is that really what you're telling us here, or?
I've always enjoyed riding on motorcycles. I dated a guy in high school that had one, and it was really fun to ride on that. I dated a guy in college that had one, and I loved riding around on it. Burnt the heck out of my leg one time because I was riding in shorts. Like an idiot. Yes, like an idiot. Didn't have on even jeans to protect my legs. So when I was climbing off, it was a pretty big bike, and I was sliding down, my calf got up against that hot pipe. And of course, my weight was all shifted over, so it wasn't like I could get my leg off it real quick. It was kind of like trying to get off. So I had this huge a blister. You can actually get a blister this big, I discovered. And I had a scar there for a long time from that. But I just really love that. And he actually, my college boyfriend actually taught me how to ride his motors or drive it. And but it was such a big bike, it was hard for me to handle. But I loved where we could go places and park way closer, and like I went to the University of Texas, and so it's a huge campus, and like trying to get to the football games, you couldn't park anywhere close. Well, he could get his motorcycle right up there close. I was like, this is awesome. We don't have to walk.
Yeah.
But I tend to be a risk averse person. So actually buying a motorcycle and getting out and riding, I see how horrible people drive. I'm terrified even in my car going places. So if I could get out like a dirt bike and get out
Mhm.
somewhere and just kind of ride some back, trails where I knew that there wouldn't be, some idiot cutting me off or something like that. I think I would really enjoy that. But as far as getting on the road, I'll let other people do that. And when they drive by, I'll be like, heck yeah. But the reality is I'm going to write about it because I'm not doing it in real life. That's kind of, I live vicariously through my characters in my books.
That's very fair. That is very fair.
And I'm just a closer in my t-shirt.
Yeah. I burned myself on my mom's moped. Do you
Oh.
remember a moped?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, she had just pulled into the driveway. I insisted upon sitting on it. I did. My leg touched the tailpipe.
Ugh.
How? That's
Yeah.
why I flinched. I remembered what that felt like.
It's something you only do once.
Yeah, and it was. I never sat on it again,
Mm-hmm.
ever.
Does she still have it?
She does not.
Does she still
No.
have it, Tracy?
No.
Oh, shoot, I would ride it.
Oh my Lord, that was so long ago. Let's not discuss the years. No.
Darn, Carol and I wanted to ride it when we came up.
Yeah.
Around a parking lot.
I will let her know to buy it back in a hurry. In a hurry.
My daughter and son-in-law both have motorcycles and have taken my granddaughter out numerous times. She absolutely loves riding.
Fun, yeah. They are so much fun. I can see the attraction. Yeah. Do they ride, like, do they go certain roads they like, or just kind of around town, or?
Mostly around town. He's now working in Texas. Good old
Okay.
GM closed the local plant, and so she's here and he's in Texas. And he has his motorcycle out there that he, when the weather is good, rides to work.
Is he in Arlington by any chance? The Arlington
Yes,
GM?
he is.
Okay, I used to live in Arlington, so I drove by that plant all the time, right out there off 360. Wow, small world.
It is.
Very small world. Yeah, there's lots of good back roads in Texas to drive. Pretty rides out by the lake and stuff like that. That'd be nice.
Well,
I think the Blue Ridge Parkway would be a perfect place to ride.
Yeah,
oh, it's gorgeous.
It is.
we always see motorcycles out there.
Yeah.
Always.
I'm always jealous of them.
Yeah, I am too. I'm like, I want to get on.
Oh my. Well, one risk to the other. Okay, from motorcycles to romance. The romance between Misty and Rocky is brewing. And I'm very happy that it's brewing. But it's fun to see someone our age, postmenopausal women falling in love again, for whatever led them that way. But you've written and still write some romance too. You also have written younger sleuths. How is writing an older sleuth, an older protagonist, different than writing younger ones?
Well, I think the older ones are more confident in what, Misty, is more confident in what she does. She kind of is less apologetic when she gets in, I think, she, being older, she has more perspective and, kind of knows human nature maybe a little bit better. The young ones are fun to write too, because they're, it's fun to write both of them. Because they kind of have a lot of things ahead of them and they're just learning and it's, exciting, but someone who's got a little bit of mileage on them, I think can think through things maybe a little bit, more deeply and stay calm under pressure too. I think that, people who have been around the block a few times, have different ways of reacting to things, and I remember when I first pitched this to my editor, it was actually right before the pandemic. I was up in New York City at the very beginning of March of 2020, right before they shut everything, we were hearing murmurs and stuff. But I told her, I said, I want to write, an older character, that 50. you know, what do you think? And I said, this is why. And I said, you know, people in general act like aging is some horrible thing. And I'm like, I have never had more fun in my life than where I am right now. You know,
Mhm.
it's a great phase, you know, once you know, because when you're young, you know, and you're trying to find someone to settle down with and reproduce and raise kids, and, you know, you're doing all these things that, you know, instinctually you're driven to do and that you have to do to survive and get by. But then you finally get to this phase and it's like, I feel like, you know, I can finally kind of take a breath and kind of look around and go, now, what do I want to do? You know, and you can be a little selfish again, which is
Yeah.
nice. And, you know, your kids are grown up and they're responsible for themselves, and they're living on their own dime and not yours. And, you know, it's kind of nice to have this freedom. And I think, you know, I wish our society valued this more, because I think it's, you know, and also just having the perspective you have, you know, when you get older, you know, what's really important and what's not. So you're not going to waste time, you know, getting upset or worried about things that really aren't going to matter. I think it's, you know.
Yeah, I think the thing, I agree with that, and I'm like old enough to be your mother, so I can really say this. But I think for me, at least, as I get older, I'm so comfortable turning down requests to do something, because, not to be dark, but I don't have that long. So I'm not gonna, I mean, I'm not ill or anything, but I'm not gonna waste time.
Yeah.
It will help me grow. That's just nonsense to do that. So
Yeah.
I agree
We
with
learn
you.
to set our priorities better. Yeah. I think that's, you know, and that's kind of how it started out with this whole series. Was Misty got to a point where she kind of went, you know, I've always wanted to live in the mountains, and it's not going to happen if I stay in my marriage and I stay, you know, in Raleigh. And it's kind of now or never. And, you know, she had to weigh those things, and she thought, you know, we've had a good marriage and we've got 2 kids and we can end amicably. Let's just do that. And there's probably more people should do that than do, you know, maybe, I don't know. But, you know, they were able to do it amicably, and there's still a family, even though they're not married. So, and in fact, I'm going to play on that more. The book I'm about to start writing, the 3rd in the series, is going to be when her boys come home from college for Thanksgiving, and her husband's going to come up to the lodge, or ex-husband's going to come to the lodge. And so we'll kind of see how they interact, you know, as exes.
That ought to be interesting.
Yeah, with Rocky. I've already been having some fun ideas on how I can play with that.
Can't wait to see that one.
Mhm.
Oh, wow. Well, from people to how about animals? Molasses, the canine schnitzel, Yeti, and a shotgun. Oh God, shotgun stole my heart.
He was based on my terrier. I don't know if anyone sees my terrier that I sometimes post pictures of him on TikTok and stuff, but I posted one today because we went for a walk, and he's got that wiry hair and it just picks up leaves. And so he's like got this beard of leaves, you know, coming along with him. But shotgun was totally based on my terrier mix.
That was
Diane,
adorable.
Are you ever gonna write chapters from the perspective of the dog? Because I
Of
like the ones
Molasses?
from the cat, yeah, but I'd like to see ones from the dog.
Oh, that's an interesting idea. Maybe I'm gonna write that down.
On your order.
Way to go, Sue.
Kind of like the Hank the Cow Dog books from that Erickson in West Texas. Yeah.
I met him at in Abilene at a
Really?
yeah, I forget what they called the book festival, West Texas Book Festival. Yeah, they don't have it anymore. I knew the guy who was in charge of it, and
Yeah.
when he kind of retired, you know, no one took over. But that was a great festival. It was fun.
My daughter loved his books, every one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
I
very.
hope you do that. That'd be so good for you to grow and stretch what you do.
Well, I do the dog in my paw enforcement books. I do the canine does have her chapters in that, but yeah, that would help expand the series to see what the dog's thinking about. You know.
Absolutely, yeah.
But wasn't there something about Yeti, something from Yeti's point of view? And
Yeah, she
this
has
book?
chapters. She has
Mhm.
chapters. People seem to either really like it or really not like it.
Yeah.
You know, and she doesn't talk or anything, but you know, I have had a few reviews where people go, I don't know why she's got these cat chapters in here, but then I've got people saying like, oh, that's cute. And it's, you know, and I try to make, you know, my pet characters, I try to make them just as unique as the human characters, because, you know, I have a ton of pets. I just got another cat. I've got 5 cats now and 3 dogs. And each one has a unique personality. You know, they're not all
Oh,
the same. So like Sawdust from my House Flipper series is a very sweet cat, and I've had very sweet male cats like him. And then Yeti is just this arrogant, everyone exists to serve her, you know, kind of cat. And I've had those too. So yeah, it's fun, but planning, you know, their parts in the story is always fun. I like them to have a part in the story because my animals have a part in my real life. You know, if my dogs start barking, you know, I can tell by the way they're barking whether something is a threat or not. If, you know, there's a certain bark that they do when it's just someone walking a dog up on the street, there's another bark when it's the guy bringing the Amazon box to the door and it's more of a threat. And so that's a part of my life, you know, kind of knowing these things. And the cats, you know, if they hear something in the middle of the night, their ears prick up, and you know, they're, you know, that might make me, you know, stop and take notice. And so I like giving the pet something to do in the books. Like Yeti noticed the guys out in the trail, you know, in the woods, and noticed that something's kind of odd about that. And you know, I love putting in a canine again. I love writing about canines because they're just such smart and capable dogs, and it's just neat to see what they can do. And Shotgun was mostly just a cutie for fun.
Yeti's perspective on the helicopter was a hoot.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's fun.
Diane, have you always had this many animals?
I had a high of 8 cats and 3 dogs at one point. So five cats and 3 dogs has not our peak. Yeah, we you know, ideally I would like to have, you know, 1 or 2 of each. I always, you know, but we tend to, if one needs a home, like the one we just added, my niece wasn't able to keep this cat, and it ended up at my mom's, and my mom's about to move into an apartment, so she couldn't keep him, so he's here now. We're getting him adjusted, but he sniffed noses with one of my other cats, and they didn't hiss, so I think this is going to be good. So we'll see. I'm trying to do kind of a slow introduction here, so it's not too dramatic or traumatic for him.
Well, I do live for those animal moments.
Yeah.
I do. I just every time I see a Yeti chapter or whatever, I smile.
Yeah.
How can you not?
Yeah.
How can you not? Because you're right, they are such a part of our lives. Yeah.
And I think we do always wonder what they're thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes it's obvious and sometimes it's not, you know. Sometimes it's like, I wonder if they get what's happening here. And, you know, I think they probably understand a lot more than we think they do, you know.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I do. I really do. Daisy she can be so astute. She really can be. And I too, I use her as my ears. I wear 2 hearing aids and am 80% deaf. And she's really my hearing dog, is really what she is. I would not know if someone was knocking on my door without that certain bark that Diane just said. You know, we can read each other. It's almost like we trained each other. So yeah, I mean, they're so woven in our lives.
Yeah. It's a very symbiotic relationship.
Yeah. When I always write, you know, up to, at one time we had like, well, we have 2 donkeys still, 2 donkeys, 3 goats, and 4 dogs. So we've had a lot of animals too here on the Kaiser Ranch. But of course, with my author newsletter, if we lose a dog, I always write about it, because you're right. You kind of imagine what they're really thinking. You have no idea, and we're just inventing it, but it comforts us. And I remember how I wrote about this one dog that was a rescue, and she was a Sheltie. She was terrified of her own shadow, and she spent 10 years with us and really almost never let us pet her, but we loved up on her, and the grandkids thought she loved them, but she was terrified and stayed in her dog bed frozen when they petted her like this. So I always write about that. And then we just lost our dog she was 17. We lost her on election day.
Yeah.
So it's fun if you're a writer with pets. it's so comforting because people know your animals, and then it's nice when you can write about them. So,
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't I never would try, like if I were young and dating, I wouldn't trust a man that didn't have a cat. So
That was actually one thing I liked about my husband when I met him was he had a cat. So I thought it's not even a dog, so it's not, macho. Not a man who is secure enough in his masculinity that he could have a cat. That's good. Yeah. And she was well fed and well taken care of, and yeah. That meant he was responsible. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always told my children when they were growing up, if the dog does not like somebody, stay away from them.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that is good
And
advice.
over the years, they have admitted that the dog was always right.
I see a basis for a romance novel in that, where a dog is like a matchmaker, and the dog will be like, nope. Dibs. I call dibs gay. It's gay rights romance too. That's really cute. Yeah.
My neighbor met her husband because when he knocked on her door, he had found a cat near where they lived, and he was knocking on every door to see if anybody knew who the cat belonged to. And she said, well, I'll help you. So she went out and knocked on doors with him, and they've been married 40 years now.
Oh, that's a cute way to meet.
It is.
Yeah. There's your book. There's your next book.
This is how we get our ideas. People always ask how we get our ideas, and it's like somebody will say something, and it's like, that's interesting. That can be expanded. We can build a story on that concept. Yeah. Or a character, something somebody did.
Back to business here. I'm losing ground. The bonds between the Dangerous Curve girls. It runs the whole show. I love how Erica looked at Jerry as a mom figure, because Jerry showed she cared about Erica. And that cemented that was extra cool. But you were talking in the book about the families that we choose. Was that an intended theme for you to put in, or was that just like a happy accident?
It was kind of more organic. I didn't set out thinking, I want to show women and friendships. That's just kind of happens naturally for me in a lot of my books, because my friendships mean so much to me that I tend to create characters who that's the same way for them. I love my family, but they say, friends are the family you choose. And that really is true, I've always been like, even when my husband and I were dating, we would not go out both nights on the weekend. One night was for me and my friends. And I'm still that way. I like to have, time with my friends. I need those female relationships, female inputs, it's just very, very important to me. And so I like being able to show that in the book, that these friendships are important. And I think too, it's almost too, the older we get, well, I mean, they're important in all phases of life, but when you get busy with your kids and stuff, if you have children, it's harder to keep those relationships up. But I think the older we get, it's even more important to rekindle those, because if we outlive our husbands, it's going to be important to have some people to rely on, but that's kind of a practical matter. But life can be hard, and having people who you can totally be open with and share your highs and lows with, are very important. And sometimes that isn't your family, because you need somebody who can talk about your family too, when they're driving you crazy, or have done something that upsets you, or you're happy, it's nice to have that extended, group of people that.
It is. That's why I think I clicked onto that the tightest, because my mentality is quality over quantity. And that is how I run my life. Not that it's exciting or anything, it's really not. But you know, the quality over quantity has always reigned supreme for me. And that was just so beautifully done in this book. It really was.
Thanks. Yeah. I'm glad it was like that, because I was thinking of, what would it be like to be writing together? And I thought, kind of your life is sort of in each other's hands. If somebody screws up and wipes out, this could be very dangerous. So,
Right.
That's kind of why I showed Erica getting, kind of doing some things that were upsetting the rest of them, and how she was sort of breaching that trust. But, she was kind of young and impulsive, and but the rest of, they pulled together and really had a good group, even though they were kind of from all different backgrounds and ages. And
that was the cool part too.
Mhm.
Opposites sometimes do attract, friends, lovers, whichever,
and people can fill in the gaps, for each other. It's like, we all have things to learn from each other, that
absolutely.
Absolutely. I remember one time when I was young, I lived in Minneapolis with two other girls, and I went to a small town where one of them lived, and I met her parents, and they were absolutely a delight. But her parents' best friends were like 25 years younger. And I remember when I was like 20 some thinking, that's so weird. I just thought it was odd, but I didn't care that much about it. But I just thought, why would you do that? But then now that I'm old, like I have old friends, of course, but I'm drawn in a Sunday school class to people that could be my children, because they're so excited. They're so looking forward. And sometimes when you get around people as old as I am, they're always looking backwards, at the past. So I like when people mix the ages up. And I like that in books when people do that.
Yeah, we all have stuff we can learn from each other. And and I found too that once you get to a certain point in adulthood, it's almost like age kind of becomes irrelevant. It's more about whether your personalities click, because if everybody's an adult, it's like, it doesn't matter whether they're 20, 25 years older or younger. It's more about, do you like the same things? Do you enjoy the same things? And that kind of stuff. Like, I actually love now that my kids are adults, we can relate, I wouldn't try to make my kids my friends. I'm still always their mom, but we can talk about some things kind of like friends. And it's nice kind of seeing them, that in that way, and having that kind of relationship where we can, banter things about, and it's enjoy that. And with my mother too, that we can go to Las Vegas on occasion and have fun doing that.
Yeah, I have a few friends who are my age, but I have a lot of friends who are actually my parents' age because of my interests. I really love the local history in my area. And it seems like people my parents' age are the ones who are interested in that, at least around here. They're like 15, 20 years older than me. And just a couple who are my age.
Well, and sometimes I think it's almost a matter of time, like I think sometimes when people get older, they have a little more time to do things too. But yeah, because history is really, I have found that the older I've gotten, the more I've been interested in history. You start realizing it really wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
I remember when we lived in Nashville, I went to the 150th anniversary reenactment of the Battle of Columbia, and it was right around when I turned 50, and I thought, wait a minute, this is only like my lifetime plus someone who lived 100 to 100 ago. That's not that long ago. And that was a real kind of epiphany, like, wow, that's really not that long ago. Hard to believe.
Wow.
It's a subplot too with Katie Sadie.
So I missed the first couple
Threw
minutes.
a little curve in there. It was like, is this related? Not related?
Yeah, that was fun. I liked throwing that in because it ended up kind of being a total red herring, but it was a more developed red inspiring than they usually are.
Mhm.
And yeah, so I liked doing that and getting that kind of was fun. So like dual crimes going on. And I loved the gravy scene.
Oh,
That was the funnest scene to write. The big bin of gravy over his head.
go Patty.
I remember reading that, okay, and I'm just sitting there shaking my head. Just one of those. But yes, that was good. Classic.
Hot cider and gravy.
Uh, you have cleverness in droves. You know that. We know that. But this book in particular, with the murder weapon and the location of the money stashed away in the brass bedpost, did these just come to you spontaneously, or did you sit and brew on them until you had these clever ideas? Do we need to check all of the Kelly's tennis rackets is what I'm asking.
Well, kind of both. The bed frame thing is just based on the fact that we have a brass headboard and it has these little screw-on things that come off every once in a while. And I got to go over there and put them back on. And one time I kind of went, what's down in there? And just kind of looked in there and I thought, oh, if I was a kid, I would have thought this would be a great place to like hide your allowance or, I mean, I think writers tend to be kind of people who kind of go, like look at the potential in things in weird ways, so I kind of got that idea just from our posts that fall off and I have to screw back on sometimes.
Okay.
The tennis racket took a little more thinking about it because I had to really kind of develop the characters, Andrea and Mariah and Sterling and think about, okay, who would they be? Why would they be coming up here? And I kind of wanted to make, that contrast between how they looked at, kind of looking down on the motorcycle group, how Andrea did,
Yeah.
Ryan didn't, but just kind of that contrast, kind of added some additional conflict. And so I thought, okay, having them play tennis and golf kind of adds sort of another element. And there is a kind of a country club up on top of Beach Mountain too, where people they mostly play pickleball, but there is tennis courts and a golf course. So I thought it would be fun to put that in there. And of course, Serena and Venus Williams are such good players. And I love that they've, kind of made the sport kind of, they wear cool things and all that. So I thought, okay, I'm going to, do the racket. And then I started researching the racket and learned that Serena had changed her racket and all that. So that all just kind of came around doing research, but yeah, I had fun kind of going down that rabbit trail.
That was neat though. Okay, so but we don't need to check the Kelly family rackets. Yeah,
No,
okay,
they're all
right.
fine.
I'm just checking. Just
No blood. No.
Inquiring minds want to know. Yeah. Well, I thought that was very clever, and I would have had no clue that there were different model rackets. I never even thought about it. I really didn't. I just every now and again pick one up, swing it. That's it. Put it away for a while and didn't even think about models.
Yeah, I learned a lot. I'm not a tennis player. My husband played in high school,
Yeah.
but that's been a million years ago. And I think we do have some down in the garage, just playing around with. But yeah, the sizes and all that kind of stuff. I didn't know much about that either. It was definitely something I had to look into.
Well, that was a neat element. Something I, of course, didn't see coming. I never do. You always get me.
Well, I tried to sneak in a bunch of things that could be, the selfie stick,
I was following the golf club. Yeah, I was following the golf club. That's I was so sure, and I was so wrong. Again, and Susan there too. Yeah, I saw that nod, Susan.
That is music to a writer's ear, right, Diane?
Yeah.
Oh, music.
We like to trick people.
I swore it was going to be the son because
One
he
more
was just
big
such a
element.
jerk.
one more big element that was so cool and so ingenious, okay, was how you got the water and the pump truck to move where did that one come from?
Sometimes I write these scenes and I'm like, I'll be curious to see how I get that done. When my outline, I'll be like, okay, and the guy runs and he goes out on the, because I wanted to write a scene on the Buckeye Lake because it's just such a beautiful spot up there. If you ever go to Beach Mountain, go and see Buckeye Lake. But and you can rent canoes at the rec center there for free. So I thought, oh, that'd be fun to do. And then when I started thinking, okay, well, now he's out on the water. He's not going to come off voluntarily. So I'm like, you don't want to send the dog out there. You might hit the dog with the oar. You could send a scuba diver, that gets to come up, but they could get hurt. And so I just started thinking, well, how could you, basically blow someone across the water? You either need something, really strong current of air or something. And then I thought, well, a hose, because you hose off stuff in your driveway and you kind of move things around, that way. So so that just kind of came to me, and I thought, well, the fire department has these really, these trucks that can really pump some pressure water, and
that would definitely do it.
I'm sorry, say that again.
It was perfect. They got him right in the face.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah. I kind of like to give the bad guys a little bit of, and I like to put some kind of, clever and funny hijinks in my books. It's kind of fun. Chase scenes are really fun to write. It's funny because as I'm writing, chase scenes, I find that I write them so much faster. It's almost like I'm getting excited. I could probably write a book really, really fast if that's all it was one chase scene after another.
I believe that. Well, before I would hit my last question for Diane, does anyone have anything that they would like to ask her?
Yes, I would like to ask Diane, who are some of your favorite cozy mystery writers?
Well, Melissa Bourbon, of course, and Winnie Archer.
Loaded question.
Yeah, did you know her from Texas, Gay? Did you know Melissa Bourbon?
I did not.
She also wrote as Melissa Ramirez.
Oh, okay.
But we knew each other there, just kind of, loosely. We did a couple signings together, and then it was just funny because I moved to North Carolina for my husband's job. And then we were here about maybe 6 or 8 months. And then I saw on Facebook, and she and I had lost touch and, didn't really keep in touch. But I saw on there that her husband had gotten a job in Chapel Hill and they were moving here. So I got in touch with her and we've become really close. It's great. We're basically at the same point in our career and all that. So it's fun having, basically having a colleague. In fact, we went and walked this morning and talked about stuff. So that was, she has a release today, by the way, if anyone's looking for a new book to read. It's called Bread Over Troubled Water. And it's
cute.
Yeah. So her bread shop series, she's got recipes in there. It's a really good series. It's set in Santa Sofia, which is a fictional town on the California coast. But her, I recently discovered Libby Klein, who I know is one of Tracy's favorite cozy authors. She's funny. So I really like her books. They're pretty hilarious. Vivian Chin has a noodle shop series, and I really like that. I like the Asian flavor of that. I'm a big fan of Asian food, so that's fun. And I kind of like that it's a little bit different and features some family elements in that.
And she does a really good job of getting the places in Cleveland right.
Mm-hmm.
Is that where you're from?
I worked there. No, I'm from Warren, which is about 60 miles east.
Okay.
But I worked there for 9 years.
Oh, okay.
Right in Midtown Cleveland. And we would often go to lunch in the area that she writes about where the noodle shop is.
Oh, cool.
And so it's fun reading those books because it's like, oh yeah, I was there.
Yeah.
I do believe that's where she lives.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe that's where Vivian's from. Yeah.
Susan, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I had people tell me that when I wrote about Dallas and Fort Worth too, mostly Dallas in my Tara Holloway series, my Death in Texas series. People liked seeing places, that they we're familiar with in the books. And,
Yeah.
and it was kind of fun. You know, of course, I'd throw some fictional spots in there too, but it is kind of fun to be able to feature your hometown or
I was
somewhere.
going to comment because Susan's a Midwesterner, I guess. Aren't you technically a Midwesterner if you're from Ohio?
Yeah.
And I'm from Minnesota, and I remember the first time when the movie Fargo came out, and I have relatives in North and South Dakota too, of course, but when Fargo came out, we were watching it out, one of my favorite movies, and this couple in front of me said, "People don't talk like that." And yes, we do. I mean, you can tell the people that are writing about places they don't know very much about, and the people that where it's authentic.
That was a good movie. Very good, dark comedy. In fact, I referenced that I do it.
It gets me to talk like that. I just have to watch them and then I'm back in the lingo.
I teach a class on comedy, writing, adding comedy and humor to books for writers. And I use that as an example of dark comedy, like at the end when they're got the guy's foot and they're putting him in the chipper and he's got this white sweat sock on his leg. I mean, it's awful, but it's good dark humor.
Another one that does a good job of that is Kylie Logan.
Oh yeah.
She writes some that are set in Cleveland and some that are set in like Sandusky, the Literary Ladies series.
Okay.
Yeah.
That one, if you haven't read that, it is a hoot. It's women of a certain age who don't get along, and their neighbors, and they are forced by a judge to form a book club.
Oh, that's a hilarious premise.
Susan, what's the name of that? I have to write that down.
It's the Literary Ladies series by Kylie Logan.
Okay, thank you.
I really like that one too.
I have some Audible credits. I might have to get one.
It's really good.
I can't tell who's speaking. Who's saying that?
This is
It
Sue.
was Sue Stoner.
Have you ever read Dixie Lyle's books?
Not
They're-
familiar.
Oh my God, yes, years ago.
They're paranormal, but there's a lot of animals in them, and the animals speak, and she really nails the characters of the animals. But it's actually a guy that writes them under the name Dixie Lyle.
Dixie
They
Lyle.
are hilarious. I mean, sit and laugh until you cry. Hilarious.
Is it Lyles or Liles? Or do you know?
L-Y.
Ly. Okay. I'll have to look those up too. Yeah. I love anything with animals in it.
Oh, she is outstanding, or she was. I don't know why she stopped publicizing. I don't know.
She came out. It was a long time in between, but there was a new one released last year or the year before. But it had been a long time. Yeah. And I was worried that it wouldn't be as funny as the other ones, but it was. It was hilarious.
Oh, I'll have to find that. I didn't realize I missed one.
Yeah.
Bad reader.
Yeah. Anything funny is definitely my cup of tea.
You'll love her. Well,
That's one thing I love about your page and about the Book Warriors is that a lot of them say, "What are you reading?" It's "What are you reading Wednesday?" And I get so many good suggestions from that.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah. Yeah, because I think, sometimes I think, I should know, every other cozy mystery writer, at least recognize their name, but sometimes there's ones I haven't heard of, and there's new kids on the block.
And this is
Gail have one out soon.
a very old series, but have you ever read Anne George?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she's hilarious too.
Yeah.
Her sister was it the Southern Sisters? Tracy, is that what it? They're older sisters. Older sisters, and they are hilarious. Like the one sister's kind of like, normal, and the other sister's just like wild and crazy, and it is hilarious.
Yeah.
I bet the juxtaposition of that is fun.
Yeah.
Great recommendations, guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Christmas is coming. I could ask for some of these. We can all put them on our list. And Gay, when your books come out, we'll have to do a Zoom and get everybody back.
Yes.
Working on it. Yeah, working on it. Mine are really, And Diane has really encouraged me about this because I'm a lifelong singer, and it's kind of gotten me through a bad childhood. But so Diane actually named the first book in the series, which I'm still finishing up, but it's called Killer in the Choir. It's about people that practice in church, but it's not a church choir. It's a small town community choir. And it's a lot of aging women with vibrato that probably need to stop singing. So it's just been fun because it's something I know, so that's fun to write what you know.
Yeah, you can add a lot of authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And unique humor. So that's,
yeah, I just hope I hope people sitting behind me don't think it's about them.
Nobody ever thinks it's about them.
But I put that stuff in the front. That's I know ever, so, but it totally is.
People tend to be blind to their own selves.
One can always hope. Yeah.
Yeah. I always wonder what I'm blind to. I'm like, I need to force someone to tell me.
Do we have another hour?
Okay, Tracy, we've got our
Because I've got stuff. No, I don't. I have nothing. Well, what is up next for you?
Okay, so I'm working on the next paw enforcement book. And so so I'm really excited to be back working on that. So my publisher, we had done 9 books in the series, and that meeting I had with my editor that I told you all about right before the pandemic hit, she and I talked and we thought, okay, we'll do one more book in that series and then start something new. Well, the sales department always gets the last word in, and they came back and they said, well, we want her to write a cozy. And so I had the characters were engaged, but I hadn't sent them down the aisle yet. I'm like, they need to get down the aisle. So I decided I was going to independently publish that so that I could, wrap up that series. But now I'm kind of going, maybe I won't wrap it up, because just because they get married doesn't mean life ends. There could be some fun stuff with that. So so I'm going to see how it goes when I do the next book. Yeah.
Just because they got married, they still have lives.
Yeah. So I'll see, it's interesting because the publishing world, it just is constantly changing. And, there's more options for authors now, which is nice, because if a publisher does decide they don't want to continue a series, the author can continue it on their own. Or if you have an idea that a publisher won't necessarily publish, it's something you can do on your own, because, they seem to be contracting more and more. And not taking quite as many chances as they used to. So, who knows, but I've been real happy with my publishers, so far. So yeah, it's always interesting, trying to find that balance between, your creative freedom and, actually maybe trying to make a little bit of a living, at this. So, that balance is always kind of hard to strike, but and it's just so fun. I can't imagine not. It was funny because my husband was watching this interview with Bruce Springsteen that Howard Stern did. He taped a couple nights ago, and Bruce Springsteen was basically kind of saying, just how it almost becomes an obsession, like the music. And I feel that way about my writing too. It's almost like breathing or eating or anything. And I know Gay feels the same way, probably about your singing too. It's like, it's just something you have to do. It's part of your identity. And if you're not doing it, if I have too many days away from writing, I start getting kind of antsy. Like I need to sit down and put some words on paper, or, I need my fix.
We need it too.
I mean, what I like about it, and I'm sure Diane feels the same way at times, the political climate has been tough to deal with, and COVID was very tough to deal with. And I was almost stress-free, because I would just go into my office and I'd say, Jim, I'll see you tonight. I'm going to go create people I like. I'm going to make my own. It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it's just like readers escape into books, we escape into them too when we're writing them. I remember when my husband was out of work for 6 months, and it's like, man, I got so much writing done during that 6 months, because the alternative was worry about whether we were gonna be able to send our kids to school and put food on the table, so it was,
Yeah.
it was good that I had my writing. And right as the severance ran out, he got a new job. So
Diane, I was gonna ask, I didn't know your husband's dad had taught at TCU.
yeah, he taught chemistry.
What's his name?
It was Jim Kelly. Technically, it was Henry Curtis Kelly. But he went by Jim, which is not
I
true.
know a whole bunch of, I'll have to ask my TCU friends that.
Okay, yeah. He passed away. It's been since we moved here about 2 years ago. But yeah, he taught there for years. He retired at like 67, which that would have been. I'm trying to remember the year he retired. He was about 80, so about 20 years ago he would have retired. Yeah, he taught there all that time. Yeah, it was funny, because when TCU got into the Rose Bowl, they got an email saying, something about, the tickets are going to be limited, only, because there's not a lot of them. And so his mom called up and said, well, we wanted to get Rose Bowl tickets. And they said, well, we're only getting them to really, diehard fans. And she's like, well, we've had season tickets for 50 years. They're like, okay, you can have Rose Bowl tickets. So that was pretty funny. We had a good time there. So, well, thanks everybody for coming. Does anybody have anything else? It's a little after 9, so I've had you for an hour. I'm so flattered that all of y'all spent your night with me tonight here. And Tracy, thank you for being our hostess with the mostest.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
And Carol and I are looking forward to seeing you in person tomorrow. I'll be there tomorrow. Carol will be there in 2 days.
Yeah,
I'll be there Thursday morning. Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
We won't forget you, I promise.
I came in a little late.
You better
missed-
not.
I missed the first few minutes. Did you talk about the dedication of the book?
I did, but I'm happy to do that again. So Tracy, who has been doing the questions tonight, she and I actually met on the internet. I always thought internet was just for meeting, romantic partners, but we started just, communicating, and I saw her post and thought she's funny, she's interesting, and then we started doing some FaceTimes and talking. And then my husband and I have a little place up in in Beach Mountain where the series is set. And I had it at an auction for a literacy group. And she said, if I bid on the cabin, will you come and stay there with me? And I said, don't bid, just come. And Carol came with us because Carol had seen Tracy. I'm like, Carol and I have been friends for a long time. And she's like, who's this Tracy person? I want to meet her too. And so it just,
And now she's
we all
my
hit it off.
sister.
Yeah. And so now we're going to visit Tracy. So
Through the
it's
book
so
warriors. She had posted something and I asked her a question and we just started texting, and now we talk on the phone and we text or Facebook quite a bit.
Yeah, it's funny how you can connect that way just like any other way. Well, you need to come out too. Yeah. Tracy's even more fun in person than she is online.
Thank you.
I need to friend her on Facebook.
Yeah.
I'm trying to spell her last name. Oh, Hartman. I can do that.
Hartman. Yeah.
Me too, Kay.
One of the things I liked was that nothing against the rest of the book, but one of the parts that stood out to me was I like to ride. I don't drive, but I do like to ride motorcycles, and the sound of a Harley puts a smile on my face quicker than anything. And when you describe the sound of them coming through the mountain, I could hear it, I could feel it, and I thought, man, she nailed that. It was amazing.
Thanks. Actually, when I was writing my Busted series, my husband worked with a woman who had gone to Sturgis for the rallies and stuff like that. And she and I had dinner one night. I interviewed her and asked her a lot of questions. And she talked about how, motorcycles have certain cadences, and, it's basically, kind of just like people have different voices and the sound. So yeah, I enjoyed writing that scene. Yeah. Cause I thought this is such a dramatic and very sensory arrival.
It is. Yeah.
I'm flattered that stood out to you. That makes me feel good. I always like to see what people respond to and what feels vivid and real to them. So that's great. All right. Well, thank you everyone so much for being here. And we're going to be talking about Melissa's book. It'll probably be in January just because, December's going to get so crazy. I mean, that's why we had to do this on a Tuesday. We normally do them on Sunday nights, but just trying to find a weekend anytime soon was going to be crazy. So we'll probably do her book in January, but it's Bread Over Troubled Water. And it's under her pen name, Winnie Archer. So if you want to get that and come back and talk to us then. And when Gay gets her books out, we'll do one of these too. Yeah.
The pressure's on.
Well, Gay, do you want to talk a little bit about your romances real quick before we wrap up?
Well, I wrote several under, I wrote probably 8 or so under my pen name Tessa Gray. And it really was strictly romance and women's fiction. So I've got those for sale on Amazon. And then I just thought, when you get old, you need to reduce, you need to just learn. And I've always enjoyed my romances, but some of the friends I have are starting to read cozy mysteries and love them so much more than they do the romance. And my problem is, and I'll just tell you this, I'm freaking funny. I can be funny. I have a good sense of humor, but if I have to write humor, I'm like in this box. I'm terrified. So it's taken a little while, but Diane's kind of encouraged me. And I did have the guy in the first book killed off right away. And I agree, it was challenging, because he was such an ass, he deserved it. So it was challenging to have to make a few excuses along the way, for the people he'd hurt. So I'm working, I've got 2 almost done. I've got the first one done, the second one's almost done. And it's just I think the town is like Serenity Hills. So, and I've picked out the buildings, I have a little community that I've created. So it's just something different, and I love a challenge. I think it's so fun to have a challenge and mix it up. And I did write, probably my most successful book was my memoir that I wrote about myself, but that's a very different kind of writing, so that doesn't really fit. So I'm looking forward to cozy mysteries because I love, the more I'm starting to read them and get into them, they're fun, and they have to be fun to write.
Yeah.
So much fun to write. So
they are, and it's fun too, when you're a creative person to try something new and do something different,
Yeah.
So it's fun to have launch new characters, new series, new types of new genres like that. So all right, well, thanks again, everybody. I hope you all have a good rest of your evening, and thanks for being here. And
Happy Hanukkah, whatever you're selling.
Yeah. I hope to see you next time.
Thanks, Diane. Thanks,
Night.
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.